Hi, in this video I want to talk to you about preparing traditional artist's lino to make a print. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut it to size, and this is quite easy because you can exploit that brittle quality of the lino. So I've got a heavy straight edge here, and I'm going to take a Stanley knife or box cutter to trim it with. And I really love this Stanley knife. It's the sort of Stanley knife I can imagine Flash Gordon owning. And we had to go out and find it because I'm so pathetic about changing the blades in ordinary ones, which I find quite scary. So we found this sort of child-friendly Stanley knife where you just turn this and you can change the blade. So I really love this. So all I'm going to do is to score the lino. I'm not trying to cut it deeply. I'm just running the blade across it to score it. And then I'm going to snap it and turn it over and score through the Hessian on the back just to cut it cleanly. So easy as that to cut to size. The next thing you need to do is to check for any frayed bits. Because it's back with Hessian, which is quite fibrous, you get lots of little hairs. So it's always worth going around either with a knife or with some scissors, these rather fancy ones that my son gave me. I love these scissors. And just trim off the hairy bits. Now, keep an eye on that while you're printing because they can start to fray while you're actually working, and then halfway through the print they'll pick up the ink again. So just keep an eye on that and cut them off if you see them. So once that's trimmed, the other thing that you can do is to key the surface slightly so that the ink goes on more smoothly and is a better surface for printing on. So what I've got is a little wooden block, and I've got some fine sandpaper. It's not a specific sort of sandpaper, just a very fine one. And all I'm going to do is give it a brief sanding. So a little rub like that is enough, and you won't see really any difference to the surface, but it will improve things when you print. And the other thing that I do, which is not by any means compulsory, is to stain it. Here's one I prepared earlier. And that's because I've got rubbish eyesight and I need all the help I can get. And you can see there's quite a contrast between the stain and the cutting. So in order to do that, I've mixed some oil-based ink. Now, we're going to talk about inks and additives and stuff like that in a different video. For now, let me just say this is oil-based printing ink, and it's diluted with white spirit, and it's diluted about 10% printing ink to 90% white spirit. So I'm going to just put a little bit onto the lino with a rag and just rub it on. Move that out of the way. And so what I do is I rub this stuff on, and I always go for red. I always go for this red. I'm not sure why. It doesn't have to be red, but I kind of like it. So I rub that on and I let it dry, and then I rub it again with a little bit of white spirit after about an hour or so to take off any excess. But we'll probably talk about that again in a future video. So once all that's done, the lino is pretty much ready to use, and I'll be telling you how to transfer your drawing onto it. So thanks a lot for listening, and I hope you'll join me again.